What is happening, guys? Welcome back to the channel. So hopefully you're having a good day. I have been busy the last couple days. I mean today, last night slash whatever, I was building a new welding cart for my stuff, so it's almost finished. I mean, it's good enough as it is going to be for now, because I gotta add more to it, because I'm going to get that Harbor Freight welder fixed, because I gotta get a new gas line for it because the other brass fitting broke off, and then I gotta get a freaking regulator again because that regulator was leaky, and then I need to get my new torch for it. But I built the cart to fit both welders, so I don't have to throw the Harbor Freight one away. And I came in here to look for my hat, and I don't know where I put my hat. Whatever, I guess that's not the important thing. But today we have some more welding to do, we have some more fab stuff to do, and we have a DA to do it on. Let me show you. So your regulars here may recognize this white one. I've worked on it a few times now, built the intercooler setup for it, built the downpipe for it and all that jazz. But he ran into some issues with his manifold. So if you guys watch the other videos, I told you that he is running that eBay manifold, and these ones are problematic. Ask me how I know. I ran it on the Del Sol that I had, my B20vtec Turbo Del Sol. This is a B20vtec Turbo DA. So same exact manifold. His is just externally gated, mine was internally gated. I did repatch this thing, or I did patch it for him once, got up there around the wastegate flange and around the turbo flange itself, and it's been holding up so far, but he doesn't want to risk it. He's just going to change the manifold. So we're going to actually be building him one. And my Integra is apart because I've been prototyping the DA rear bars. So if you guys don't follow me on Instagram, which you should, go check me out. And then you can see behind the scenes stuff and get more up to current date news when I'm doing stuff like this. But as far as I know, this dude has had no issues with any of the stuff that I built for him yet, which is awesome. He did upgrade the radiator because he's been having overheating issues. This is a triple core radiator, but he's still getting issues. I believe he's having airflow issues because of how much is being blocked to the radiator. So I told him, and he bought a bunch of ABS plastic stuff, and he's going to try and duct his radiator, and I think that'll definitely help. But and then I told him to, like, he's going to heat wrap the downpipe. He actually supplied me some, so that way I can do it for him after I make this new turbo, because I'm going to have to modify the downpipe a little bit, and then I'm going to have to probably modify this charge pipe over here a little bit. So he supplied flanges and stuff in here. So this is the dump tube wrap, or the downpipe wrap. Wastegate flange, or gasket. So he did get new gaskets for the downpipe as well. He just has to wait for him to come in. He only lives at like 2 miles from me, so he can just drop him by. This is the turbo flange. So this is a T3 setup. This is the head flange, obviously a B series. And then this is the wastegate flange. So good stuff. So I've never actually built a turbo manifold before. I was gonna build one right before I sold my Miata, before I actually knew I was selling the Miata. I bought like $200 worth of 304 stainless Schedule 10 pipe, you know, the stuff to make a real turbo manifold off of, or out of, because the manifold that this is right here on the car, it's made out of a thin wall tubing, like a 16 gauge tube. If you were building a header, that'd be totally fine, because the header doesn't see as like the high heat and pressure that the turbos do. But in turbo situations, you need schedule pipe, not tube. So I got the right stuff. I just needed him to order the flanges, because I obviously don't have the flanges. I bought my flanges for the Miata, which I still have, and I'm probably gonna end up building a log manifold just to sell it, so I use the flanges stuff. But yeah, so these flanges, this is from Blocks. You can order these on eBay, online, a million different places. Obviously turbo flanges you can get pretty much anywhere. I don't know if this is stainless or if this is mild steel. So one thing I do know is that if you're welding stainless to stainless, you have to use a 308 filler rod, and if you're welding stainless to mild, like presumably what this is, I have to go buy a tube of 309 filler, which just, I don't know the chemical makeup and all that jazz. I just know that that's the right stuff to do it with. You get better, whatever. I don't know. I'm not a scientist. I just like sticking metal together. So we got a little bit of work to do in order for me to get this thing set up on here, so we're gonna get started. Obviously got to pull the manifold off, which means I got to unhook the intercooler pipe, the O2 sensor. That looks like it's, oh, okay, it has slack, it looked taut. So yeah, just unbolt the manifold. I don't need to explain that to you guys, that's pretty straightforward. got it off. Ran into a problem though. We had issues last time with this bolt, and this time it actually snapped off. So I don't really know what to do for that. I may have to tell him to come grab the turbo and run it up to the machine shop to have them pull it and rethread that hole. Granted, this is an eBay turbo, but still, I'm sure he doesn't want to go and buy a whole nother turbo just for a stud. But I don't know. I'll let him know. That's up to him. But now I can just unbolt the turbo and then start playing with this thing. So yeah, again, I'm just making a log style manifold, a stainless log. Yeah. Let's test fit the head flange at least, make sure that's the right setup. This is one of, I would think this is one of the nicer ones. Well, actually no, I lied. So this has the machined lip, the recessed machined lip, whatever you want to call that. So you guys can see that on the camera. But the only issue is it's ovaled, so that means I'm gonna have to crush the pipes to get them in here or fill some gaps, you know, stuff along those lines. Some of the nicer manifolds have it's like the circle, and then it like tapers out to the oval, and those ones are nice, but I've heard mixed things on those ones when it comes to actually welding them, because obviously when you're welding stainless or just metal in general, the metal shrinks, and I've heard there's issues with this style where it's recessed in here. But I mean, it makes for easy welding, but I don't know. That's not the point though. Let's see if this do fit though. And it looks like it does. Sweet. If you guys don't know what I mean when I'm referring to Schedule 10 stainless steel pipe, it would be this stuff. So this is 1.25 inches. That bottom box on the chair is 1.5 inches, so it's all too big, especially for this type of setup. But yeah, so ideally, we just gonna do something like that. You can see like, that's a lot of gap to fill around there, so that's where you have to like literally crush this in the vise to get it to do what you need it to. So I'm really gonna honestly take some time, study this, because I gotta figure out also how I'm supposed to get this to freaking go together, because like the flange setup and stuff, and then like obviously these middle ones I have to make straights, and it's just, I don't know. I've never done this before, so I'm a little intimidated. Granted, from what I know and from what I've seen, even if I mess this up and like the welds are just doo-doo, as long as the welds penetrate even remotely, this whole manifold should last 10 times longer than any of those eBay manifolds should, because it's actually at least the right material and all that jazz. So I'm gonna kind of play with this stuff a little bit. I would try and do like a tubular manifold, but I don't think that, I mean, well, that's not what I quoted them for in the first place, but yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna play with this for a little bit, and once I figure this out, kind of get a better idea of how I'm gonna go about this to, like, you know, notch it, trim it, all that jazz, I'll let you guys know. Squeezing in the vise worked just fine. You can see circle right there and oval it out like that, and now it fits perfectly in there. I mean, it's got this obviously slack because this is 1.25 inches. I believe this was probably a flange milled for like 1.5 inches. But there's only a little bit of a gap on each side that I should be able to do like a double pass over, like a fill pass, and then a final pass or whatever. So I think this is gonna work perfectly fine. And then I'm probably gonna end up welding the inside of the flange too, and taking a carbide burr bit to hog it out and stuff, because I want, like, my biggest thing is A, that this fits, and B, that it don't crack. So I got the pieces that I needed this morning, the weld tees. These things are not cheap by any means. I'm sure they're probably a little bit cheaper online, but then you're still paying for shipping. So these are them. Things local at my local welding pipe supply store, whatever. Piping Alloys out here in Phoenix. Yeah, they're like $21 a piece, but they're exactly what I need. So we're gonna try and make it work. Obviously I gotta trim it down a little to make sure, obviously, that it fits in the flange hole. So that's the part where it's gonna be a little bit tricky. I mean, granted, it's just trimming, take a little off at a time till it fits. And then again, I'm gonna have to crush down that thing to fit it in the flange itself, but make it easy. Okay, like you can see, these parts are all cleaned up now. We should be good, so I'm gonna go ahead and lay this tack down, or lay them all together and tack them. I did forget to pick up the 309 stainless filler rod, so I gotta go grab that stuff because I have the 308 right now, or vice versa. Yeah, I got the 308, I need to go get some 309 so that way I can weld it to this mild steel flange, and then yeah, we're ready to weld. I'm gonna go grab that 309 filler rod, grab some lunch quick, and I'll be right back. Got back at the 309 stainless. So what I'm gonna have to do, because this flange isn't the style that's like formed or trimmed or whatever to mold around there, after doing a little bit of YouTube hunting, I found a Boosted Boys video where he did his, and he ran into the same issue where his flange was a lot bigger than his pipe, because this is obviously, even my 1.5 inch, I tried the 1.5 inch and it's way too small for this flange opening. So what I have to do is go back to the piping place tomorrow, buy like a straight section of 2.5 inch, squish it down and trim it where I need it, and then I can then notch it to fit that, and it'll squeeze over that. So for today at least, I'm gonna get this welded up so that way tomorrow, after this is all cooled off and all that jazz, I can go ahead, probably have to get more gas because I'm about out, and then I can get my piece and then trim it for the wastegate and for the flange. But in the meantime, let's at least try and get this welded up. Alright, so we moved on to the next day, got some issues sorted out. So I actually just started back purging the manifold and getting it welded up. I think we finished up yesterday on welding the flange to it. I started to true it out a little bit. Obviously I did warp a bit since I didn't have it clamped down, nothing. I didn't have a purge block or nothing. So I have it purging right now because I just started welding. I got the inside pieces done and the outside joints too, and then I moved it and the hose fell out. As for the flange, this is my solution. Just like that, we'll trim a piece down, we'll squish it up in the vise, that way it's not overkill, overlapping the holes or nothing like that. And that's gonna be that. Super simple, effective, but first things first, I need to get this all welded up right here so that way I can obviously cut into here. That's gonna be the only really hard part for me, is actually cutting into this stuff, because I don't have like a plasma cut or nothing, so I'm gonna have to do it by hand with a cutoff wheel, and I've got the, that guy, die grinder, and I've got the carbide burr bits, so just gonna have to do some good old manual labor to get this thing going. Okay, so you can see what I'm doing here. I already smushed it up, I just cleaned it, I polished it, or well, I didn't polish it, but I scotch-brighted it, and then I took acetone to it. So it's all clean, ready to weld, but you can see all I did was squish it down and cut it off using the chop saw from the big section, and yeah, that's literally all I needed, was just something small like that. So now obviously welded to it, let it cool, and then I just trim it or notch it on each side to just follow the contour of the pipe, and then I can cut my section out and then weld it straight to it. Got the centerpiece trimmed out. This is on the bottom side of the manifold because I needed it, or need and wanted it to come out the bottom. This is definitely hard to do. So you can see I'm obviously gonna have to tack it in place and hammer in the ends. That's not a huge deal. I just really hope I can get in there and fill up the gaps and everything and make it all good. I am gonna take a little bit more time to trim this if I need to, because this is basically as good as I'm gonna get. Yeah, no, definitely huge props to anybody that builds manifolds regularly. I'm sure normal manifolds, other than doing the stinking collector and stuff are relatively easy-ish, other than figuring out order of assembly and stuff, because these log ones where you're not using the flange that's already pre-cut and sized for it is a huge pain in the butt. But we're almost done. Just finished up welding the flange and all that stuff on. That was a real challenge for me, just because of the obvious restrictions. So it's looking good though. Only thing that's left is to test fit, add the wastegate. I did port, this thing is really hot still. So I did port out, or smooth out the runners a bit from the weld, and then I hogged this out as much as I could. It's not the giantest or biggest gap in there or hole in there, but working with what we could for what we were given. So the guy actually stopped by a little bit ago and dropped off a gasket, so he actually looked at it and thought it was sweet. So tomorrow I will get the thing test fit to figure out where I gotta put the flange, the wastegate, and then we'll get that done and we'll wrap this up. For wastegate placement, we're really limited because of the size of this thing. Honestly, if this was an internally wastegated turbo, the manifold would be done. We could call it a day, we could wrap it up, get some new bolts because the hardware he had was too big, so I need to go find a few more. And then that would be it. So dipstick, very tight clearance, but it clears nonetheless. So as for the wastegate here, I already made my little adapter here. He had the little flange, I just cut like, I don't know, that's probably 3/4 inch. And then this is basically where I've marked out to put it, because I've tried looking and tried test fitting in miscellaneous places along here. Can't do it on this side because radiator and stuff. Can't do it in the middle because of clearancing with the hood and all that stuff, and like the welds here. So really that only leaves me with basically right here, right above the oil line. So it'll still clear the hood, and it's kind of out of the way. So I'm gonna sit here and I'm gonna weld this up really quick, and then I'm gonna notch this, test fit it to this, and then as long as I got my notch good, then I'm gonna sit here and have to drill this thing out. So I don't even know what I'm gonna use. I don't have anything fancy, like I said, so I'm probably gonna have to use some normal drill bits, maybe a step bit if I can, and then take the carbide burr bit to it. So I'm gonna be here for a while drilling that thing. But otherwise, as for the downpipe, all I have to do is shorten the length of it, which is fine because he actually changed his mind. He wanted me to add a V-band back there anyway, to get rid of the 2 bolts he has because he keeps, I don't know, breaking them or something. So that'll be fine. And then as for the charge pipe right there, all I have to do is lengthen, I don't know where I put it. Yeah, all I have to do is cut a slightly longer piece in this. So at least for the mod, oh, and I have to remake the dump tube, but that'll be easy. Maybe it'll be easy because I don't have another flange. Shoot. Just finished welding up the wastegate. Gonna hog the hole out a little bit more since I undersized it so I didn't run into issues when I was welding it, but it's all solid. I'm gonna let this cool down, hog it out a bit with the carbide burr bit, and she's ready to go back on the car. Okay, so we're back here again on a separate day. Got the manifold bolted in, got the turbo mounted up. I do, like I said, have to get some hardware, so I just finished making the dump tube this morning, and this just kicks it right down here. Really simple, just like that. I decided, because this is all 1.5" schedule 10 pipe that I had extra, I didn't really have anything else that was small enough for this, and I didn't want to reuse his old one because the old one kicked it way over here, and I didn't want to try and modify that because it was really ugly, so I thought it'd be nice to match the material by doing it this way. So one of the last items on the list was the downpipe, so I didn't even have to shorten the downpipe. All I had to do was trim off some of the exhaust after it and add the V-band like he wanted, because he had requested later that I add the V-band. I had one laying around, so welded it on for him. I tigged this one because it's stainless. I MIG'd this one just because it's mild steel, and I didn't want to take the whole exhaust off the car because it's one big old section, but he's all good. So, I think everything should be pretty much good now. Downpipe's bolted up, well, loosely bolted up because I do have to take it off to take the turbo back off. Everything's there, everything's ready to go. So fabrication wise, all my work is done. Oh, I gotta add that charge pipe, but or at least I gotta bolt it back up, but other than that, all my stuff is done. Well, there you have it, guys. Like I said, I gotta take this turbo off because I gotta run it up to the machine shop tomorrow morning. Today is Sunday. Have them re-tap that hole for him and get the hole out, or the bolt out. But as for the rest of it, came out pretty good. The dump tube is a little overkill, I know, with the schedule pipe, but it at least matches the rest of it. I do have to wrap his downpipe, so that's why I have to take that thing off also. But anyways, guys, hopefully you enjoyed this video. Hopefully it encourages some of you guys to maybe get out and try some stuff for yourself. I know the manifold, I'm stoked on it. I was able to get it done. It should be fine for his power level, and he likes it. He already saw it in person the other day when he came by to grab something. But if you guys enjoyed this video, please be sure to let me know in the comments down below. If you're new to the channel, hopefully you've considered subscribing by now. And anyways, guys, buy some merch. I'd really appreciate it. It really helps me out. This is my full-time gig. Anyways, guys, do it to love. Forget about the rest. We'll see you in the next one. Peace out.